Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Top 5 holiday movies. The first episode in the new Top 5 show for the Ray Taylor Show. I'm sharing my top 5 holiday movies. Now, my criteria for choosing these movies, they had to be heartwarming, have kind of the Christmas spirit, as it were. It has to give me the holiday kind of warmth and feeling. If I was the Grinch, these movies would make my heart expand 3 times the size. I don't know if that's the actual number. They don't have to have a nostalgic place in my heart, but that definitely will help. There's, spoilers, not a whole lot of modern movies, within the last 17 years anyway, that are on this list, and they have to be rewatchable. These are movies that I watch on a regular basis during the holidays in order to give myself that kind of heartwarming feeling. And I'll go over some honorable mentions that did not make the list, and the reason they didn't make the list is because I didn't feel like they were holiday-specific movies. Like, some movies I can watch, they maybe take place during Christmas, but they're they're movies that can be watched any time of year. So let's start off my top 5 holiday movie or Christmas movie list for those, because they're all Christmas themed. Top 5 Christmas movies, holiday movies. Starting off with number 5, I'm taking The Santa Claus, the 1994 Christmas classic starring Tim Allen. I was a big fan. This is a nostalgic pick, 100%. This is a movie that I rewatched a ton as a kid. I was a huge fan of Home Improvement, the sitcom that Tim Allen was a star of, and subsequently loved this movie. I enjoyed the second movie as well, but don't remember it as much. I have rewatched this movie recently, and there are some problematic aspects to the Santa Claus. There is a bit of pedophile humor, I must say. Not overt, but it's definitely in there. It's kind of like offhand jokes, which is very interesting watching it as an adult. I don't know how long it's been since I've watched it, but as a kid, I absolutely loved this movie. Tim Allen, I was a big fan of because of Home Improvement, so watching him in this movie was, it's just what you do as a kid. When at 94, I was 13 when this came out. I guess my birthday is in December, so I may have turned 14 when I was 13, 14 in that area. So is that too old to enjoy Christmas movies? I don't think so. There's grown adults that love Christmas movies. But I was really into it. I love this movie. I watched it a ton. Every Christmas is one of the movies that I rewatched. But a little bit doesn't really hold up. Doesn't really hold up necessarily, but still rewatchable. I still enjoy it. And if they did do a remake of this movie, I would love to see Bill Burr in the Tim Allen role. I think Bill Burr would be amazing, because Tim Allen's character is kind of a jerk in the beginning. That's like most Christmas movies. It's like somebody's a jerk, and then they get the Christmas spirit, and then everything's happy at the end. But yeah, so Santa Claus is the Santa Claus is the first, my 5th pick in my top 5 picks of Christmas movies. Moving on to my 4th pick in the top 5 holiday movie top 5 list. Bad Santa from 2003, starring Billy Bob Thornton. This is a movie. I was an adult. I was living in San Diego. I was partying a lot, but I loved this movie. Rated R, raunchy comedy. Billy Bob Thornton, of course, playing the degenerate Santa Claus. Heist movie. The idea is that him and his buddy, who is a little person, which I don't know his name. I didn't write it down. But they plan to rob a mall in Arizona, I believe. And Billy Bob finds a kid, this very unique kid to live with, who thinks that he's the real Santa, and just a hilarious comedy. Uh, it has the kind of heartwarming ending to it, I would say. The sequel isn't as good as the original, but it's a movie that I remember rewatching in this time of year in your 20s, at least for me. I don't know if people in their 20s still do this, but in your 20s, when you're hanging out with your friends and you're drinking and you're partying all the time, what ends up happening is you put on movies in the background. Like, there's a handful of movies that you put on, and they just kind of, you watch them probably like 20 times during the season. And Bad Santa is one of those movies that I remember watching a ton of times. So it may not have the nostalgic kind of like childhood heartwarming feeling to it, but it has that, like, back in my party days, I remember rewatching that with my friends all the time, and it just being a hilarious Christmas movie as an adult Christmas movie that I can really enjoy, and funny comedy, not like cheesy comedy. So now moving on to number 3 in the top 5 holiday movie list comes in with Elf. The 2003 as well came out the same year as Bad Santa. Elf, it's a modern day but heartwarming. Will Ferrell, directed by Jon Favreau. Just kind of one of the, I think it was Will Ferrell's breakout role, the first time he was the lead in a movie. I watched there is a series on Netflix called The Movies That Made, or The Holiday Movies That Made Us, and this is one of the 2 movies that is featured in that documentary series. And I really enjoyed it because it shows the making of. It shows Jon Favreau. This was his first time being the lead director in a film, aside from Swingers. I don't know if he directed Swingers. Did he direct Swingers? But Swingers was like an independent film. I know he wrote it. I don't know if he directed it. But this was, I believe it may have been his directorial debut. And he wanted to make it a classic Christmas movie. And I believe it did. I mean, the addition of Will Ferrell, who in a lot of the scenes when they're in New York and he's going through and like interacting with people in New York, they just guerrilla style did it. It was like Borat style movies in that those scenes where he's like crossing the street and he sees an old dude with a beard in a red sweatsuit, and he goes up to him, taps him on the shoulder, and asks if he's Santa. That's a real dude. Him like grabbing the flyers from the guys, handing out flyers and just annoying them, running through the kind of turnstile. Just a great movie. Elf, I love that movie. It has the heartwarming feel. It's a fun original story, I would say, about, an elf who was in an orphanage. Was Will Ferrell, was a normal kid who crawled into Santa's bag while Santa was visiting an orphanage, and he ended up going to the North Pole, being raised by elves, and despite being extremely different size than everybody else, which they used a lot of forced perspective, which hadn't been used in forever. They used claymation. There's a lot of in-camera stuff that they did that really does make it classic. I think they wanted to stay away from the digital effects, which is good because 2003 digital effects, digital effects really date a movie because the effects keep getting better. But yeah. Elf, my number 3. Number 2 is Home Alone, the Macaulay Culkin classic from 1990. Just one of my favorite movies. Kevin McAllister, played by Macaulay Culkin, gets left home alone, and during the holidays, there are these 2 the wet bandits is what they call themselves in this one. Again, another one that had a sequel. I like the first one more than the second one, although the second one is good as well. But Home Alone is amazing slapstick comedy, rewatchability for days. Just one of those movies that, I mean, when it came out, I was around the same age as Macaulay Culkin. Came out in 1990. I was 9 at the time. I think he's 7 in the movie. But just one of those movies that I absolutely love and love to revisit. But moving on to my number one movie of my top 5 holiday movies, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, by far my favorite of the National Lampoon's Vacation movies. I love watching it again. Slapstick comedy. You got Chevy Chase as the lead, the the husband, the father, all the family that shows up. A lot of crazy things happen to Chevy Chase that he has to overcome. It has big business screwing over its employees during the holiday season, which is something that we all can kind of agree and live with and sympathize with. But it's definitely one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. It is my favorite Christmas movie. It's my number one Christmas movie of all time, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. A couple years ago, I went and rewatched it in theaters. They had it. They were playing it, one of those one-off things back when theaters existed. It was on my birthday, which is, in December. And I went and saw it, and it was, this one came out in '89, so a year before Home Alone. But yeah, my favorite of the Christmas movies, just funny. I mean, a lot of these have humor involved. Definitely has the heartwarming nature of it. Has some sexy moments in it. There's a little moment where Mele Kalikimaka is Hawaii's Way to say Merry Christmas to you. I definitely remember during a formative time in my life kind of having a newfound respect for that scene. But yeah, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, my number one in my top 5 list. Let me rattle off that list. Number 1, National Lampoon's Vacation. Number 2, Home Alone. Number 3, Elf. 4, Bad Santa. And number 5, The Santa Claus. Now, of course, I left some great movies off the board. Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, Love Actually, A Charlie Brown's Christmas, Nightmare Before Christmas. All movies that I do enjoy, but I don't necessarily... I mean, aside from Charlie Brown's Christmas, all the other ones are kind of movies, despite taking place in Christmas time. I wouldn't consider them. They didn't fit on my list. Not for my criteria. So this is my top 5 holiday movie list. Send me yours. What's your top 5 holiday movie list? I'd love to see it. If you are into coffee, and I know you are because you are a human, and most humans enjoy the delicious taste and effect of amazing home-brewed coffee, get yourself some small batch single origin coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. It's brewed in Thetford Center, Vermont, and shipped directly to you. Support small business as they support your ability to wake up in the morning and buy yourself some amazing coffee at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!